What is good, YouTube? This your boy Aaron,
It is Brian.
and this is the Courtside View podcast, and we are back today. And it is Super Bowl week. It don't even feel like it's a Super Bowl about to
Last
happen this
yeah,
Sunday.
last game of the NFL season, man. It just felt like it was just week one.
Yeah, and who would have thought that the teams in the Super Bowl would be the Seahawks and the Patriots? Is this 2015? Like, am I in a time machine right now? Are we going back to the days of Tom Brady and Russell Wilson? What is going on? But I
Man, I
digress.
bet those odds were insane preseason if you predicted that because I don't think anybody had the Seahawks led by Sam Darnold being in the Super Bowl over all the other teams that in the NFC. And people definitely didn't have the Patriots in the Super Bowl. We thought they would be better because they had looked like they had some structure going on with the hiring of Mike Vrabel and all the free agency moves. But a Super Bowl appearance? No.
Lets you know that it only takes 1 year. Good coaching, good scouting, good development, good free agency moves by the Patriots, by the Seahawks, acquiring a really good quarterback. The Seahawks were able to do with Sam Darnold. That's all it takes. And
Yeah.
you can be in the Super Bowl. Amazing. Amazing. But let's talk about it, man. Let's talk about a Super Bowl week end is here. I'm excited to see how Sam Darnold and Drake May perform because this is going to be their first time starting in the Super Bowl. Sam Darnold technically was in the Super Bowl before with the 49ers, but this is his first time starting. So he'll get a taste of the extravagancies and all this other stuff. But regardless, Brian, let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see this game going? What do you expect from both quarterbacks in this game?
I expect a lot of defense. I think it's going to be a defensive football game, not a super high scoring game. We may see a 23-18 score or 20 or honestly you could see 18-15 for all I know. I don't know. I think there's going to be a rather low scoring game because these are both defensively stout teams, and you can argue that their defense were the driving factors in how they both made the Super Bowl, especially for the Patriots. Um, Sam Darnold he played really well against the Rams. I'm not even gonna lie, but the Rams defense has been fraudulent. They went up against the 49ers, whose defense has been decimated by injuries. Robert Saleh can only do so much with what the scraps they had on that unit. So I think this is going to be a very defensive focused game, and I believe this will come down to which QB plays the cleaner football. And I do think that people think this game is going to be like some type of blowout. I don't see it. The Patriots are, even though people say, oh, they had the easiest schedule, they're still a tough team. And they did go up against three of the top 10 defenses in the league, in my opinion, in the Chargers, Broncos, and Texans. And they was able to pull out a win. So they obviously know how to get it done against top tier units, even though that Denver game, weather played a factor, and they didn't have to go against both Knicks. But hey, you can only play with who's lined up against you. So I think there's going to be a close scoring game. I think the spread last time I checked was 4.5 for the Seahawks. I think the Patriots covered at 4.5, and we're going to see a lot of mistake-free foot. We're going to try to see the game plan be centered around mistake-free football. That's what I predict. So I think they're going to do a lot more scrambles with the Drake May because he got a lot of good things done with his legs this playoff run. So we all know the Seattle's an elite passing defense. So you don't really want to put the ball in the air 40 times against this unit because you're bound to make mistakes, bound to get turnovers. And we all know Drake May has currently a 62% pressure to sack ratio. That is very bad. So the last thing you want is to get into a drop back battle against this D line with Byron Murphy, DeMarcus Lawrence, Boye Mafe and them, and try to have Mac McDonald just release the wolves every play. So like I said, probably a lot of running, whether it be QB or Ramondre Travion Henderson. They're going to try to get this run game going, control the clock, and play good defense on the other end, and limit Kenneth Walker to not many rushing yards because you get Kenneth Walker going, and that just opens up a whole can of worms for that offense, and that's something you just don't want to get into.
Well said. Just to elaborate more on what you said about these teams, both of these teams are two of the best defenses in the NFL at stopping the run and defending the pass. I believe both of them are top 10 in total defense. Both of them are in the top half in terms of passing defense. Both of them are top 10 at stopping the run. So these are two very well, very well disciplined defenses. And then on the offensive end, these are two of the better offenses in the NFL in passing yards and total yards per game in passing offense and rushing offense as well. They're both really good. They're two of the top 10 in terms of rushing yards per game and then passing yards per game. They're also at the top of the league as well. So both of these teams are very complete rosters, very complete overall if you look at the stats and analytics. But you mentioned mistake free. I agree with you on that. I think the team that makes the three biggest plays, but also the number one is not turning the ball over. I think they win the game. Um, I'm interested to see not only the quarterbacks how they play, but also individual matchups. I'm really curious to see how Jackson Smith and Jigba and Christian Gonzalez, how they match up with one another. I'm curious if Christian Gonzalez is going to travel with Jackson Smith and Jigba because, as we all know, against the Rams, he was moving a lot in that game, and he's probably going to do a lot of that in the Super Bowl. So I'm curious how the Patriots, how that defense is going to defend Jackson Smith and Jigba. Are you just going to have Christian Gonzalez defend him throughout the entirety of the game, or are you going to have different corners trying to stop him and just have Christian Gonzalez on one side of the field? So that's going to be a fascinating matchup. Two of the best players at their position going up against one another, and two of the better offenses and two of the better defenses going up against one another. If I have to pick a team to win this game, I'm going to go with the Seahawks in this scenario. I think
Mm,
Seattle. Um, I just trust Seattle's offensive scheme. I trust their coaching on the offensive end and also defensively to a certain extent. I think their defensive line is going to wreak havoc against the Patriots offensive line as you I think you may have pointed out as well that the Patriots offensive line just has been decimated, has been getting absolutely annihilated in a lot of these playoff games and throughout the entirety of the regular season. It's just Drake May has been exceptional in what he's done. But Drake May, he's prone to take too many sacks instead of throwing the football away. Or he'll make careless mistakes like fumble the football too much, like he did against, I want to say it was the Texans. So, with that being said, I just think Seattle, with the way that they played in the playoffs throughout this year, I trust them more in a big game like this because they're less prone to making the mistakes that are going to cost them the game. And even when they make a mistake, they still are able to cover it up. Remember what happened last game against the Rams. The corner, Tariq Woolen, he
yeah,
taunts the Rams sideline, 15
gives up a
yard
touchdown the next
penalty,
play. Yeah.
gives up a touchdown on the next play. We think, man, the Rams, they got the momentum. Oh, they snatched the Seahawks heart. Here comes Sean McVay. Here comes Matthew Stafford. And you know what the Seahawks did? The next drive, the offense went down and scored. And that lets me know great coaching. They got the mentality, they got the heart of a champion. And I just believe that they are too well built, they're too well coached to not win this game. And I just think overall, with Sam Darnold leading the way, with that running game being tremendous with Kenneth Walker, with the receiving game, with Rashid Shaheed returning kicks and also making explosive plays, with Jackson Smith and Jigba also making explosive plays, and one of the top five receivers this year, and arguably the best receiver this year. I think it's just going to be too much to handle for the Patriots. And I believe the Seahawks win this game in a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I believe the Patriots win. Hmm, I'll go 27-20 Seahawks. I think offensively it's going to be a lot better than what we expect because it's in a neutral site and it's in a dome, actually not in a dome, but I think the conditions are going to be okay enough because they're going to be in, I want to say
Santa
California and
Clara, yeah.
Santa Clara. So the conditions should be a lot better. It's not like it's snowing over there or anything like it is over here. So they'll be fine. I think the conditions will be great enough for both teams. It'll be in a neutral site. And I think because of that, both teams will be able to do okay offensively. It won't be a sluggish game like what we've seen from some of these playoff games. I think it'll be a relatively entertaining game from start to finish, but I think ultimately a turnover here from the Patriots will ultimately cost them. And I think Seattle's offense, with the play caller they have in Clint Kubiak, will call something amazing and it'll be the difference in that game. So give me Seattle 27-20.
I'm going Seahawks as well. I'm gonna go. Hmm. I don't think this will be a super high scoring game. I'll say at least both teams get 20 points because last time I predicted a somewhat of a low scoring game, it wasn't a low scoring game at all. So it was at Bills. It was the Bills and Broncos game. They both had 30 apiece, just about. So I'm gonna go 25-22 Seattle. They get the win, get the second Super Bowl in franchise history. And here's the thing, though. I'm conflicted about this prediction because while I do like Drake May as a quarterback, and I do think he'll be a 10-year plus starter in this league based off him already being an MVP candidate in his second year in the league, there's only been 4 QBs that have lost their first Super Bowl appearance and not only won the second one, but I think they even made it back to the Super Bowl. One of them is Jalen Hurts, and three of them, I don't even remember the name. So
Was it
I
John
don't want.
Elway?
No, John Elway, he made actually. Ooh, actually, I think so. Yeah, John Elway. I think he is one. Yeah, good pull, good pull. Because it took him like 14 years to go back to the Super Bowl and he won it. So I don't want Drake May to end up like that. But the way the New England is a historically winning franchise ever since the 2000s or so, it probably won't end up that way. He'll probably end up being the fifth QB to do it after Jalen Hurts. So yeah, but I'm gonna still go with Seattle. I feel like top to bottom, they're the more complete team, and they just been the more dominant team throughout these playoffs.
Mm.
And you can argue, you know what's funny? People like to get on the schedule for Drake May and this Patriots. If you really think about it, them three teams that they play can equal up to that one Rams game that Seattle played because the 49ers ain't have a chance in the world against that team. It was just a track meet from the jump. They had no business being in that game with them. So you can argue level of competition wise, you can if you do a little bit of trickery, you can match up because they played three top 10 at worst top 15 defenses on their way. Granted, they played against CJ Stroud, a disaster class. Not Drake made, Justin Herbert disaster class, and then had to go up against Jared Stidham in a freaking blizzard nearly. So I don't know, but I still like the Patriot matchup. They're still a good team. Good teams find ways to win. That's what I believe, and they can rely on that defense because they are a stout unit. Milton Williams, Christian Gonzalez, they get solid linebacker play. So yeah, I'm still go Seahawks. I think Seahawks win though.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to think. So let me ask you this. How how does the Patriots win? If they're able to win, like how do you see them winning?
I think the Patriots win if they win the other ways they won the game, playing good defense and forcing the QB to have a disaster class. Only way I see them really winning is if Sam Darnold just folds. If he starts seeing ghost again, the Seahawks might be cooked. But Sam Darnold has shown that he's either gotten over that mental hurdle because, like I said, remember I told you off camera, you can't go to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl unless you face your demons and slay them. And Sam Darnold's demons last year literally was the Rams, and he went up there back against, maybe not back against the wall, but it was looking a little scary for him late in the game. And he just went out there, he did what he had to do. He played clean football, put up 300 plus yards. So I feel like once you get past that mental hurdle or that obstacle, there's really nothing that can stop you. So unless he reverts to the Sam Darnold we saw last year in the playoffs, where he was later in the season, where it was like, "Ooh, are we sure this is the guy?" And like then we got to the actual playoffs, the Vikings versus Rams, and the Rams just made him look horrible. So that's the really only way I could see the Patriots winning this one.
Hmm.
They got to get the run game going too, and that's going to be hard to do against this Seattle team. Because one thing Mike McDonald teams know how to do is stop the run.
I think they have to make it ugly. I think it can't be a game where both offenses are just scoring, going band for band. I think it has to be an
Mhm.
ugly game. I think both teams, not well, Seattle, for example, I think they have to force Seattle to turn the ball over sometimes. You have to force Seattle to make mistakes that they normally don't make, which is going to be very hard. A fumble here, um, interception here. Like there has to be some sort of way that they can prevent Seattle from doing what they do best, which is score points, which is establishing the run, being methodical, being unpredictable in some of their plays. Because again, when they get the running game going, they're damn near hard to stop. So I think stopping the run has to be the most important thing for them. If they can stop the run, it will allow them to do a lot more things on defense. If you can make it to where Sam Darnold has to beat you from the start to finish, I think they got a immense chance. Like they have a good enough chance of winning the game. Sam Darnold is not a bad quarterback at all. I think Sam Darnold has been really good this season, but I don't think Sam Darnold can win you the game from start to finish. I think if the running game isn't there for this game, if there isn't big runs from Kenneth Walker or whoever is the backup running back for them this game, I think it's going to be very difficult for that Seahawks offense to generate enough points to where they can ultimately take a major lead or have a sizable advantage. I think it comes down to stopping the run, in my opinion. If the Patriots, which they've been great at stopping the run. If they can continue to be able to stop the run, which I think is a possibility with how well they've been with Milton Williams and all these dudes on the defensive line. I think they will definitely have a huge advantage. And then on the other side of things on offense, they have to limit the mistakes, especially Drake May. I think Drake May, what he did against the Broncos, um, I think some of that in terms of not turning the ball over, not forcing it, not making the big mistake that costs you the game. I think some of that has to show in this game, but then also you want to see him be more accurate with the football, obviously. But I think some of the things that he did against the Broncos, where he did what was required, is what he needs to do against the Seahawks. And it's easier said than done, I know, but I just think if he can make sure that he doesn't fumble that football and doesn't throw one of those head scratching interceptions. And then when, let's say, there's nobody downfield is open, throw the ball away. Live for another down instead of taking a sack. I think field position is another thing that we need to talk about with this game because the Seahawks, their special teams is pretty good. Like they
Rashishi
don't have
Heat.
they
Yeah.
don't they don't have a bad special team. So I think another thing that really needs to be emphasized with this game is field position and special teams. If Drake May can limit the amount of sacks, limit the interceptions, limit the fumbles, I believe they have a hell of a chance. And if they can stop the run, I think they got it. I think that's the formula for them to win. Limit the turnovers, throw the ball away when nobody's open, and make sure that you don't give the Seahawks great field position. If you can do that, hell of a chance.
One thing I want to add on that I think would give the Patriots a good chance in this game. They got to utilize Travion Henderson, and I'm not just talking about in between the tackles. I want to see him use like how we use at Ohio State. I want him to line up, get some routes out the backfield, maybe possibly line up at a receiver because he was drafted to be that dynamic H back guy to where you could not go run between tackles and he could play a little wide receiver out there. And I feel like they haven't really used him in these playoffs because Ramondre made sense in most of those games because weather and all of that good stuff. So I feel like this would be a good time to like unleash him and have him carry a lot more work because like we said, we're on a neutral site, good weather, the field will be dry. Just let him go out there and just play his game. I think that if they get him involved a lot more, they could have a good chance in this one.
I wonder if they could use him in like punt returns or kick returns because he's such an explosive
He did it
back.
in college. Yeah.
Exactly. He's such an explosive back that it could definitely help him if they can utilize him in special teams as well. I would love to see him as a punt returner or a kick returner because it'll be unexpected. It'll be kind of a surprise in a way. So I would love for them to try to utilize him not only on offense but on special teams as a punt returner or kick returner because we've seen the Super Bowl where there have been times where teams would have a great play by the special teams, a Devin Hester here, a Jacoby Jones here. Like these guys would just turn the tide of the game, and all of a sudden, your team got the momentum. I think Travion Henderson, you got to utilize him in this game. You can't just say, all right, we're going to give him 5 rushing attempts and then that be that. Like, no, in these games, he's a weapon. He's a guy that you can utilize in these conditions and surprise the Seahawks. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's all I got for the Patriots offensively. Oh yeah, last thing, offensive line got to protect Drake May. Cannot let him be under pressure because we all know they can get after the QB in Seattle. So you're gonna have to get better play. I don't know if they're probably going to draw up some more quick or shorter developing routes. Maybe try to control clock a little bit. Keep away from the Seahawks offense, but yeah, you can't let Drake May get sacked 5 times like he did last game. That's just not gonna fly. Because one
Time
thing
of
about
possession
your
is
time,
very
they got to
important.
win time of possession. They got to win time of possession. But yeah, that's far as I guess how I think the Patriots can win this one.
I, and on Seattle, I think it's pretty simple establishing the run, making sure that you give the ball to Kenneth Walker, that he gets some sort of rhythm going, and then after that, play action is going to be very important as well. Trying to deceive the defense. Sam Darnold just continue to play like how he normally played, either being a game manager or being really good when it comes to delivering the football accurately. I think what he's done in these playoffs is good enough to win you a Super Bowl. And Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's been outstanding this entire playoff run and this entire season. So If he can continue to do what he's done, and if Sam Darnold continue to do what he's done, and also with the running game with Kenneth Walker, I think that's the recipe for success on the offensive end. And on the defensive end, I mean, what more could I really say than just continue to be physical, continue to be that tenacious defense that you've been the entire year. I think the defensive line has to really show itself this game, especially with how pedestrian mediocre the Patriots offensive line has been this entire year. I think you just have to do what a lot of other teams have done to Drake May, which is force him to make a mistake, force him to fumble the football, force him to take a sack. And that's really all I have to say. I think Seattle, like you mentioned, is the more talented team. I think overall they should win this game. I just think what they've done, what they've shown, it's hard for me to believe that they lose this game because they just have the better overall team and they've shown more and they've been through more adversity, in my opinion, because of the NFC West and because of the playoffs that they've gone through. I just think Seattle, there should be no excuse. I just think they're the better overall team, and it's just simple as that. I don't think they need to really do much. They're really need doesn't need to be much of an adjustment compared to the Patriots. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I got Seattle. I'm going Seattle all the way. If I had to put money on the game, I'm going Seattle, but I would put money on the Patriots spread. 4.5. I think they could cover that. Like they very much could cover that. But I feel like this game is gonna be closer than that.
Yeah, man.
I do have a question though.
Yeah, what's
It's
up?
a kind of a something we kind of touched on last week, I believe. Would these two teams participate in the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks and the Patriots? We know what their route was. We know what their roster makeup is. What does this tell you about how teams should be built in order to compete at to build a contending roster? Like what does that tell you? To me, I'll go first. For me, it says that you do not need a top 5 or even an elite QB in order to make the Super Bowl, which I've already had this opinion, but the way that the media and the fans have become so QB focused and so, oh, you got to have the Q, you got to have a top 5, you got to be Lamar, you got to be Josh Allen, Mahomes. It's like, no, you don't have to be. Like we saw Brock Purdy make the Super Bowl. We saw Jalen Hurts win a Super Bowl last year. We see the current participants now in Sam Darnold, who was a top 15-ish guy. Drake May, who you could put in top 10 because he made the MVP, but he's not elite in my eyes just yet. I'm not giving him that label in just year 2, and especially with the playoffs he had where the numbers haven't been necessarily great. So I just think we just got to get away from this QB narrative-driven whole thing. Oh, you got to have the elite QB in order to compete. Like, no, like these teams are well-crafted rosters. Like the defense matters quite a bit. These are both top 10 defenses. I want y'all, if all the viewers listen, I want you to look up the last time a team that didn't finish at least top 15 in defense made the Super Bowl. You're gonna be like, oh, what, that president was in office? I'm telling you. So I'm gonna get your thoughts on that.
So where I'm at with it, I'm thinking from a coaching perspective.
Mm.
If you're trying to build a team to contend, you can't be complacent. You have to always think about getting better. Stop being loyal to these relationships. Oh, this is my friend. Oh, this is somebody I knew all my life. We grew up together. You got to get out of that mindset. Is this guy going to put us in a position to ultimately compete for a Super Bowl? And see, that's my problem with some of these teams. I'm going to bring up my Packers as a great example because my Packers have fallen in this trap of, well, this guy, we really like this guy. The the head coach really likes this guy. They're friends. They've known each other for so long, and they give him chance after chance after chance. But then when you finally let them go, it's too late. So my thing is you have to be aggressive in the coaches that you decide to hire. You have to hire guys that are the best at what they do. And you can't just hire coaches that are your friends, that you get along the best. Like you gotta you gotta go out there and get the best coaches available. And I feel like a lot of teams they fall into the trap of let's just get people that we can get along with. Like, no, F that. We need to get the best coaches available. And I think teams like my Packers get so complacent thinking that, well, maybe it wasn't the coach, maybe it was the players. Well, the coach has been there for 3 years. How long until it's you can just blame the players? Like, no, it's the coach. If it's been 3 years and you still have a bad special teams, so I look at it from that perspective. I think coaching is so important when you're trying to build a championship level team. It's just as important as building the roster because development is important and situational football, these games come down to just one or two possessions. And that boils down to not just the players, but it boils down to coaching. So I think with the way that the NFL has gone this year, I think coaching is such an important part of football because the Rams versus Seahawks game, I think a part of the reason why the Rams lost is because they didn't have a good special teams coach. Special teams cost them. And not investing in a good special teams coach, not investing in the special teams in general, costs you a chance of going to the Super Bowl. These things matter, in my opinion. Passing game coordinator, um, defensive passing game coordinator, defensive line coach, DB coach. These things matter, and I just think teams they think that well we can cover up this part. No, like you really have to invest in this stuff. It can't just be we got a talented roster. We have a good enough head coach that special teams doesn't really matter. Well, special teams has cost a lot of teams a chance to go to the Super Bowl. So coaching is very, very important. Building a great coaching staff is very, very important. And what these two teams have done has not been complacent. Mike McDonald, I think his name is Mike McDonald, not Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's with the Chargers now, but Mike McDonald, what he did was he has gone through two offensive coordinators. He's on the third offensive coordinator, and that's Clint Kubiak. He was not satisfied. Actually, I take that back because I think he got hired. What's his name? Who Jackson Smith and Jigba was not too fond of. I forgot his
Shane
name.
Waldron.
Shane Waldron. I don't think Shane Waldron was Shane Waldron. Was he on the Seahawks when Mike McDonald was the head coach the first
I
year? I
believe
can't.
so.
Okay,
Yeah, because he
okay,
bought him. He bought him from Washington.
okay. So all right. So here's the thing. So Mike McDonald has gone through three offensive coordinators. He's on the third one, which is Clint Kubiak. The first one we all know terrible, trash. Second one, I think his name was Ryan Grubb or something. He was
Yeah,
the offensive coordinator the year that Michael Penix made the championship game, and that offense with Romo Dunze. So they bring him in. It didn't work. He got out of there after 1 year. He got fired. And then they brought in Clint Kubiak, third offensive coordinator, and woo, look what's happened. The offense is amazing. One of the best play caller in the NFL is probably going to get a head coaching job with the Raiders after the Super Bowl. When I
yeah.
look at the Patriots, and I'm still talk, but when I look at the Patriots, they fired what's his name? What's that dude? what's that dude?
Antonio, no, not Antonio.
Not Antonio
Gerard
Pierce.
Mayo.
Gerard Mayo. After 1 year, it's unfortunate that a brother got fired, but it had to be done. They fired Gerard Mayo. They brought in a veteran, savvy head coach, one of the best coaches that was available in recent memory. He was available. They brought him in, and then guess what they did? They brought back a really good offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels. And guess what? They turned it around. Literally, from worst to first in 1 year. That's unheard of. And that's because the Patriots weren't complacent. That's because the Patriots understood that you can't just keep giving coaches chance after chance after chance. I'm talking about trash coaches, mediocre coaches, coaches that have not shown any growth. You can't just keep giving them chance after chance and expect a different result. That's called insanity. The Patriots said, you know what? Let's get a guy, let's get a leader, let's get somebody that's been there before, not Super Bowl, but has won before. Let's get him in and let's bring back our old guy that is still an amazing offensive coordinator. And look what they've done. Look what they've done. Drake May, MVP candidate, second year, had an amazing jump. Amazing jump. He didn't even look nothing like this last year in his rookie season. In the second year, he's been one of the two best QBs in the NFL in the regular season. It's unbelievable. And that's because when your team, when your organization is not satisfied and they're always looking to better themselves, this is the result. You get to the Super Bowl. Simple.
Yeah, listen, you absolutely right. And both of them, both teams attack free agency. You got some key pickups like the Seahawks got DeMarcus Lawrence. I'm pretty sure they got some other guys I'm blanking on right now. But the Patriots, they got a bunch of dudes. They got Stephon Diggs. They went and got Milton Williams. Definitely a few other guys that again I'm blanking on because it's been a long season. But yeah, man, like you gotta invest in your roster. You gotta invest in your team. And we see how these owners invested in their team. Like people was questioning the Seahawks replacing Geno Smith with essentially with Sam Darnold. It was like, oh, this is this really going to move the needle?
Mm-hmm.
But as you see, what Geno looked like in Vegas over there, they definitely made the right decision because if I get way better, much solid QB play for around the same price point, I'm gonna take that change every day of the week. So I think it's just a really good example of how teams need to operate moving forward when it comes to trying to build a contending roster instead of just relying on a top five QB to bail you out of situations and lead you to the promised land. When that's really historically only really worked for Pat Mahomes and Brady, and even still then they had elite defenses.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like we got to get out of this mindset of the QB is responsible for the deep playoff runs and everything. It was like, no, it's a lot more nuanced than that. And especially with the way QB contracts are looking moving forward, man, what you gonna have to find a QB that's middle of the pack, not making $200+ million or on a rookie deal in order to win Super Bowls if your name ain't Pat Mahomes moving forward. Because as it stands right now, it's looking a little tough.
Yeah, man. I'm just happy. Like, part of the reason why I like the fact that these two teams are in the Super Bowl is because it shows people, like you mentioned, that it's not about, oh, having the best quarterback in the NFL. It's not about, oh, this guy has to be elite. And it also reveals that QB wins. We mentioned this before, the conversation about QB wins. This whole thing about, oh, this quarterback is better than this quarterback because he's one, like it. I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole. But regardless, I love the fact that these two teams are in the Super Bowl and it's not a Joe Burrow, it's not a Josh Allen, it's not a Patrick Mahomes, because it reveals to people that no, you have to build It's all about team, roster, coaching. It's all about that. It's not one person. If Lamar doesn't make the Super Bowl, which he hasn't, it's not necessarily because, oh, he screwed up. No, well, that guy, he dropped a pass. Oh, well, that guy fumbled the ball. Like it's a collective. And I think this Super Bowl is going to remind people that it's a team at the end of the day, and it's not one person. It's not, oh, Patrick Mahomes, he won it. No, no, the Chiefs, they won it. Oh, Tom Brady, no, no, the Patriots, they won it. Tom Brady had a lot to help, but no, no, the Patriots, they won it. And I like the fact that this isn't a Super Bowl where it's like you have like you have names that people can identify instantly. These are not household names. These are not guys that um, transcend sports. It's none of that. So
Yep.
yeah, man.
Oh, we got some comments. My dog at better. Actually, I could put it up on the screen. Duh. He said the only way Pats win is if with a crazy Riley a la Eli Manning.
Eli Manley. So
That's interesting because
yeah,
that is interesting because I'm kind of on that same page, but I feel like they could also win the game. Like I said earlier, you probably wasn't in here, but I said if their defense can force Sam Darnold to fold or collapse, which I don't think will happen because he hasn't shown flashes of that these playoffs. So I'm not going to bank on it happening because we haven't seen it yet. But I feel like if their defense can force some turnovers and they play clean football and they protect Drake May, I feel like they have a chance to win. But as stands right now, I have a theory called the better dudes theory, and the better dudes theory been nearly undefeated. So I'm gonna rock with the Seahawks got the better dudes, so I'm riding with them.
so let me ask you this: if Drake May wins the Super Bowl, what would be your just thoughts about him and his, I don't know, where he ranks going forward as a quarterback? Like if he wins a Super
Um,
Bowl, do you
he
look at
still
him
be.
different?
I wouldn't look at him too much different because he is an MVP candidate. In my opinion, an MVP candidate, it's harder to win it. Is it harder to win an MVP or a Super Bowl? I'm gonna say Super Bowl, but
Yeah,
I
Super
would
Bowl easily.
he'd still be to top 10 in my eyes. I wouldn't catapult him in the top five combos like people try to do with Jalen Hurts, but he'd still be in my top 10. I like to see at least 3 years of high level play before I put anybody in the top five. That's just me personally. So
Mhm.
I put him in the he'd still be my top 10. He'd just have a Super Bowl ring, probably Super Bowl MVP if they were to win it. So I mean, he'd be stamped, but I wouldn't call him like a leader or anything.
That's fair. That's fair. And what about Sam Darnold? If he wins the Super Bowl, what would be your thoughts on Sam Darnold?
Sam Darnold, he would still be top 15 dude to me. I mean, I don't look at QB play. Like I said, I'm not QB wins FC or anything like that. I'm not about to sit up here and just catapult guys into a stratosphere they don't belong in because they got some wins in January and February. That's just me. Because we all saw how Jalen Hurts Super Bowl and he looked great in the Super Bowl, came back the very next year and was garbage. So I feel like we got to relax on trying to put guys in conversations that they haven't been to because of less than 5 games in the postseason. So,
Yeah,
what do you
I
think?
agree. I agree with you on that. I think there is like a Super Bowl does help. Like let's not
Oh,
act like it
absolutely,
doesn't
it
help.
absolutely helps.
It's to me a Super Bowl is the whipped cream of a cake. That's what it is to me. Like I think you have to look at, okay, their stats, their body of work in terms of their individual accolades. And then we can look at, all right, what a team accomplishments do they have? Have they been to the dance? Have they been to the Super Bowl? Have they won the Super Bowl? And that adds on to their overall legacy. But I'm with you on this. I'm not the type of person that just all of a sudden significantly elevates somebody because of one game. the media has fallen victim to that with when it comes to Jalen Hurts, when it comes to other quarterbacks in the past, like Joe Flacco, for example. I'm not going to be that type of person who all of a sudden this guy has an amazing performance and I'm just going to ignore like like 95% of the season that
Yeah,
they've
complete
had.
body of work. Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. And Drake May has had an amazing regular season, but we also have to put it into context just what transpired throughout the season, the scheduling, and some of the mistakes he's made. He's not a perfect quarterback, and I'm not going to all of a sudden elevate him over a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen or even a Patrick Mahomes or a Joe Burrow. Or I don't even think he's better than my guy, Jordan Love, even though he's had an amazing season, Drake May. Just because he has a Super Bowl, maybe even an MVP, Super Bowl MVP, and he's had an amazing year. Is about consistency, in my opinion. I think he's only had one great year. Can you build on it? And that's where I'm at with it. I have to wait and see before we all of a sudden crown somebody because they've done it in the past. They've crowned somebody way too early, and then all of a sudden they've fallen flat on their face. I'm not gonna be that guy.
No.
So
I do think a
that's
Super Bowl, like my another comment, he said it would give redemption. Like a Super Bowl really would make Sam Darnold's story even greater because he was drafted very high, ended up bouncing from a couple teams, from seeing ghost and being benched, people giving up on him. Then he bounced around a couple systems and teams that just to end up pretty much where you would expect the guy he got drafted at to be. I think that'd be a great story, but other than that, it ain't really much other than that. It's just a great story for Sam Darnold. Like a good way to end the little site his story or whatever, as far as the things he had to go to get back to a starting job in the NFL.
like Eli Manning won two Super Bowls. Did people
He
say
did.
Eli Manning was elite? Like nobody
Nope.
said that. They say he was a really good quarterback, but did they say he's better than his brother or Tom Brady or Drew Brees or
Eli
Aaron
Manning
Rodgers?
never in my I don't know how
No,
many years of talking ball growing up and stuff. Eli Manning has never shot in any top five, anything top 10 convos.
no, no.
He's just a good J. He's good in the playoffs.
He's a good quarterback, and he's a top 10 level quarterback, but he's not top five. He's not elite. He was just a good quarterback in his day. I'm trying to think other quarterbacks similar in his position where they win a Super Bowl, but they were
Russell
never.
Wilson,
Yeah, Russell Wilson, but
but
when he
he
won,
became
he
like
wasn't
you
even a
could put
top
him in the
10
top
quarterback.
five like way later, like
Way later.
2020, yeah, the let Russ Cook era. That's the only time you could really put him in them combos. But the few years after he won them Super, no,
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't until about 2015 when we started to see Russell Wilson ascend to a really good to elite quarterback MVP level. But that was later on. That was like right after the Legion of Boom pretty much left. So
yeah,
it's
and
I
then
have to see more. I have to see a more body of work before we can all of a sudden get this guy the elite tag. That's where I'm at
yeah,
with it.
just like Brock Purdy made that Super Bowl, lost. They paid him 200 some $1 million, and now look at
Mhm.
him. He's not trash, but he I
No,
don't he ain't no $200 million QB in my opinion.
he's a good quarterback. Like he's a top 15 quarterback, but he's not elite. Like there's a difference. There's a difference. And with Sam Darnold, with Drake May, there's still a difference between elite and really good. And I think those two are really good. I think
Yep.
Drake May is top 10 easily. I think Sam Darnold is a top 15 QB, but I don't think a Super Bowl changes how I look at them. Maybe towards the end of their career, when we look back at the body of work, the Super Bowl will look really good. But as of this moment, after the season, I'm not going to all of a sudden say, yeah, Drake May is better than um, Josh Allen or Lamar or this quarterback. Like, I'm not going to do that. So,
Or Stafford even.
Or Stafford. Yeah, absolutely. Or Stafford. I'm not even going to say he's better than Stafford. No. So, all right, man. So anything else you want to talk about?
Um, no, I don't think so. I think that's. We'll do. Oh, we could talk a little about coaching. Since all the coaching positions got filled.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, head coaching positions.
Trying to
I
think.
think, I think most teams made some decent hires outside of a few. The Cardinals they hired.
Nathaniel Hackett.
I know as an offensive coordinator, it was looking good with the Mike LaFleur. Then they went and just hired Nathaniel Hackett. But my thing is, Mike LaFleur is an offensive guy. Are they? Is Hackett even going to be involved with play calling?
I have. That's a great question. I think he probably will because why would you go from Green Bay or wherever he was to all of a sudden going to the Cardinals if you're not going to get some play calling responsibility? Maybe Michael LaFleur is like, I'll just oversee the entire team and I can just let you be the OC. Maybe that's how they're looking at it.
Hmm. Oh, so what y'all think about the Raiders next season with the new QB and the Seahawks? Oh yeah, Clint Kubiak, yeah, he's going to the Raiders. I think that's good. I think that's good. Good pickup for them. Obviously, you got Mendoza coming on the way. You got Ashton Genty year two, but y'all have to get that line fixed and line right because Ashton Genty is not going to be as efficient if you do not get real good players in the offensive line. And I literally just seen a report before the show started talk about this may be Max Crosby's last. We probably Max Crosby could be on the move this off season. So that's another hole you got to fill on defense, which was putrid last year, even with Max Crosby. So drafting is going to be very important this year. I don't know how many picks the Raiders have at the moment, but whatever they got, they're gonna have to hit on all of them and try to do something to get some linemen in free agency because as stands right now, you put Mendoza behind that line, you setting
It's
that young
over.
man up for failure.
It's over. Um, yeah, you pretty much said everything I was gonna say. It's really about the offensive line at the end of the day because they were the worst. They were arguably the worst run blocking team from an offensive line perspective in the entire NFL. There were so many clips floating on X where the offensive linemen didn't know what they were doing on run blocking situations. So I think Ashton
Yeah,
Genty, he's amazing. Like Ashton Genty,
like the flashes were
um
there.
I have no concern for Ashton Genty in terms of his overall talent. I just think the offensive line is the major problem. And maybe Clint Kubiak, when he comes there, he'll scheme something up to help Ashton Genty out. I also think that they need to make sure that the offensive scheme that they're running, especially in the run game, complements what Ashton Genty does well. I think that's the thing from last year with Chip Kelly. I believe he was the offensive coordinator. His scheme just did not gel well with how Ashton Genty runs the football. He's more that power back. He's more that guy that's gonna go, likes to go through the
Bougie. Yeah,
middle. He's
he's a
not a
bruiser.
guy that
Yeah,
likes to go side to side, likes to make people miss. He's not one of those guys. He's a bruiser. He's a Marshawn Lynch type of back. He's an Adrian Peterson type of back. He's one of those guys that is a bruiser that's going to wear you down
hard to get on the
throughout
ground.
the season. Exactly. While
Great
with
contact balance. It's hard to get on the ground. Not the fastest guy, but he can win the foot race if you give him enough. If he gets downhill, he can definitely win a foot race.
yeah, so hopefully when Clint Kubiak comes by, I think he'll do a good enough job because Kenneth Walker, he's kind of similar in that sense where he's one of those guys. He's not going to try to make you miss. He's not
I don't know.
a
You see that one clip that's been going around? What he did to that Rams
uh,
linebacker?
but he's not known for doing that
Right, yeah, right.
consistently.
Yeah.
Every running back will
Yeah.
at
They could
least
get a
have
little get a
they
little
can at least have like one or two highlights. Like Marshawn Lynch has done it in the past, but I think the running style of Ashton Genty and Kenneth Walker are very similar in the sense where they're not east and west, they're more north south, in my opinion. They're not gonna try to dance like they're Barry Sanders or LaShawn McCoy. That's not how they are.
Yeah. Also, I know they got Brock Bowers. They still need some more weapons because that receiving core is, I don't even know
Putrid.
who's the number one. Trey Tucker? I don't even know at this
Yeah.
point because they traded Jacoby Myers mid-season. So
Hmm.
you're gonna have to find a weapon in the offseason or in the draft somewhere. So it's a lot of work to do. This ain't gonna be a 1 year thing. It's not gonna be like a Patriots where it's gonna be a 1 year turnaround once you get the QB. It's probably going to take probably 3 years at this
I,
rate because they can just have so many gaps to fill.
I don't even know their cap situation as well. That's another thing. I like depending on their cap situation. If they have a lot of cap space, that could bode well for them.
True.
Let me see cap space Raiders.
I don't think players would have a problem playing in Vegas,
Yeah,
even though things can go wrong in Vegas, as we all know. But
yeah. So
but I think they have a lot of cap
they
space.
got a lot. They got the second
Yeah,
most cap space. Hey,
they
hey.
gotta play ball in free agency. New coaching scheme, new coach staff. Got to get your guys in the building.
They have to get the coaching right. You have to sell players on the fact that if you do sign with us, you're gonna have good coaching. You're already in Vegas. You're already in Vegas, so that's a plus. But the coaching matters. They can get that right.
Ooh,
Draft
that is
Mendoza.
true.
I think
He
this
said
could, this
playing.
could
He said
work.
plus being in the AFC West doesn't help at all. That is true.
That's true. That is true. But like we saw, like, hey, no Mahomes next year. No Mahomes next year. So here's an opportunity.
Yeah,
And the Chargers, we already know. We don't know. Every year it seems like they're injured. Every year they're rattled with injury. So it's really the Broncos that you have to fear because they're well constructed and Bo Nix, he's definitely gonna be back. It's not like
yeah.
I think he
I think
was
they said he'll
fractured.
be
He
back
broke his
by
ankle.
OTAs or something.
He'll definitely be
Yeah,
back. So it's really just the Broncos you gotta fear. While everybody else is not necessarily a threat. The Chargers will be competitive, but
until
they always
January.
have injuries. Exactly. Until honestly, not even January, until like December, where like it seems like injuries just pile up for them, and then they go to the playoffs, and it's just they don't have any help. But yeah, man, that's how I look at it, bro. They got a
Last
chance.
coaching thing I want to talk about. Giants. Obviously, we all knew they hired John Harbaugh. How do you feel about the Matt Nagy for OC? I think it's hilarious because people was like, "Oh yeah, Harbaugh, he's going," and then they went and hired a dude that hasn't called plays since Chicago,
I think
where they
this
had
whole
horrible offenses.
situation. I think this whole situation just screams mediocrity. Just screams um, playing it safe. Just screams going for names that we already know. Like I don't see much excitement if I'm a Giants fan. I know John Harbaugh has won in the past, but I don't think he's a good coach anymore. I don't believe in John Harbaugh as a winning head coach in 2026. I think his days are numbered. I think Lamar Jackson really covered up some of John Harbaugh's flaws as a head coach because before Lamar Jackson became this MVP caliber player, the Ravens were in the mud. They were 8-8, 8-8, 9-7. It was pathetic in Baltimore. And it wasn't until Lamar Jackson came to his own in the second year and became an MVP caliber player that the Ravens ceiling all of a sudden went through the roof. So I believe John Harbaugh, I John Mara, the owner, I don't know what the hell he's doing, but it just seems to me like a guy that doesn't really know what he's doing, so he's just gonna go with people that he's familiar with. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, to me, it's just I can understand the logic behind going for John Harbaugh because he is an established coach, has made plenty of playoffs, even won a Super Bowl, even though that was the Obama administration. But I understand like the logic. But in this era of ball, you have to get a, a coach that calls plays or is involved in at least one side of the ball, or either offense or defense. A special teams coach running your operation, and then we all know that he has a lot of input on what the coach, like he doesn't even want to report directly to Joe Shane. He wants to report to the owner. So he's going to be involved in roster building and construction. Like, no, you cannot do that. Like that is not how you build a winning team. When was the last time we seen something like that be successful and win a ring in this league?
I also question John Harbaugh's ability to identify good coaches
He stuck
because
with Greg Roman for like 4 years.
I'm looking at after Mike McDonald left, and even take Mike McDonald off of the equation. Look at the guys that he's had on his coaching staff. These aren't guys that teams are lining up to want to hire for significant roles. That's not the case. So I'm really questioning John Harbaugh's ability to build a really good coaching staff because I think that has been a lot of the reason why the Ravens weren't able to go very far is because their coaching staff really sucked. They had amazing talent, but their coaching staffs were not the greatest, and they kept getting outplayed by a Kansas City, a Buffalo, year after year after year.
And Eric DeCosta, he did a solid job putting together these good rosters, and the coaches they just couldn't take advantage of it. And the Giants recently have not been a good drafting team outside of them getting maybe like a top 5 pick, and you get them no miss prospect like Abdul Carter to fall in your lap. But other than that, they've been missing. They had a lot of misses in the draft as of late. So I don't know. I don't know, New York fans.
Yeah, and I'm still not all the way sold on Jackson Dart.
Me
To
either.
me, to me, here's my thing with Jackson Dart. Maybe I need to watch more film with Jackson Dart, but whenever I hear good things about Jackson Dart, it's not about his ability to throw the football. It's his legs. It's his ability to extend plays. It's his ability to scramble. It's never about, oh man, Jackson Dart, did you see that throw he made? So I'm wondering, uh, is he really that good? And then he's always hurt with the head injuries. I'm not too sold on Jackson Dart. I gotta see more.
I'm not either. Especially yeah, like you said, the only thing that scares me is just how many times he's been in that blue tent throughout the season. So I hope they don't use that young man as the battering ram and ruin his career along with Cam Scatterboo. But yeah, I'm not that big of a believer in Jackson Dart either. Last question before we get up out of it. He says, "Do y'all think when Mahomes comes back with a brand new leg, he'll be the same?"
Absolutely,
Yeah, I think he'll be the same
absolutely.
because he's a QB ACL injury. He's not like doing a bunch of shifty cuts or anything. I just need him to not resort to being arm throw guy and just remain solid with his mechanics. Throw from the whole body. Make sure you plant that foot in the dirt and really just rip it. But Mahomes, he's a veteran. He knows he'll be fine. I think Mahomes will still be that top tier QB we all know and love. Well, no, some people hate Mahomes, but yeah, I think he'll be all right. I am interested to see if the offense will look kind of like what we've seen before now that Eric Bieniemy is back on as the OC. That's what I'm more concerned about because once Matt Nagy got on board, that offense looked like a shell of itself. And I know they say, "Oh, Andy Reid was the one calling plays," but Matt Nagy must have been doing something wrong because that offense just didn't look right. Maybe it
Yeah,
was an attitude thing. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe they needed Eric Bieniemy to instill that. I don't know, but we're gonna see it. I think it's gonna be an interesting, underrated aspect about this coaching thing.
I think Mahomes will be fine. I think the problem with Mahomes is, like you mentioned, mechanics. This past season was probably one of the worst seasons I've seen Mahomes play, and he still didn't have a bad year. But just mechanically speaking, and the consistency throwing the football, he just didn't look the same as what he did back in his MVP years. I don't think the injury is going to significantly worsen his ability to throw the football. I think if anything, hopefully more um it'll make him want to emphasize more in his mechanics and not rely so much on scrambling, you know what I mean? So I think Mahomes will be fine. Mahomes is a all-time great quarterback, one of the best players we've ever seen. He'll figure it out. He's so talented. It doesn't matter if he tore his ACL. He'll be fine.
Yep, I agree.
All right, man. Without further ado, that'll do it. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below, hit the notification bell, follow the socials, and we will see you after the Super Bowl. And oh yeah, Brian, I want to also say this because we haven't done a single QB tier list this
Oh,
entire football season. And I kept saying we're going to do it eventually. We're going to do it eventually. I think it'll be the perfect time to dish out the QB tier list
mm.
either next week or the week after because now we have a full season to assess every quarterback and come to a conclusion on who we think should be ranked.
Ooh,
So
that's a good one.
I think we're going to bring back the QB tier list either next week or the week after. So stay tuned
Uh,
on that. And we'll see you guys on the next episode of Courtside Podcast. Thank you guys
yep.
for watching. Peace.
Salute.